realized the technology was such now that we could change the way that our customer service folks, if I slip and call them product experts, that's our internal name for them, just know. But when they talk with a customer, whether they're TurboTax or QuickBooks or something along that line, we now have the ability to understand where we think they are on that journey. Are they like at risk of leaving us? Are they delighted with us? And then are there things that we could recommend that would add value to their business? And we're using AI to do that. So I'm going to share kind of what that journey, how do we go about doing this from a technology standpoint at a very 101 level. Like I'm not a data scientist. I work with them and they make it easier for me to just go out and get stuff. But that's what I want to address. And then last week, really interesting thing, I was down in Mountain View for Global Engineering Days. And that's when all the engineers around the world at Intuit get to put aside everything they're working on and go do something fun. And so what my team and I decided to do with our friends on the data science team is a Gen AI project. And I'll share some of the details around that because that is the burgeoning frontier. Sound good?
Okay. Excellent.
Let's see here. Let's get this locked up. Let's see if I can catch up. Could just be slow. There we go. Now I think I hit on all that. Yeah. Oh, and the results have been amazing so far. I'll share that too. So what's the reality? Intuit, we make accounting solutions. We help people with their taxes, and we're really branching out into that ecosystem of services that go along with it. MailChimp, which helps with marketing. I wouldn't be surprised to see us offering all kinds of solutions to small and mid-sized businesses over the next several years. That's really one of the things that we're trying to leverage because we have 110 million customers and a unique presence in that space. When we talk to our customer service folks, and by the way, I should have done a little bit of an introduction. So Jet's my nickname. Aaron Todd Hansen's the official name. The story there is when I interviewed it into it, Jesse, Jake, Jordan, Josh, and Jeff were the interview committee, and they loved me. They said I had just one flaw, didn't have a J name. So they added J to Aaron Todd, the initials. So J-E-T, that's how you get Jet.
Got it.
And it's followed me everywhere here. I am now the solution architect for all of our 25,000 customer service folks. So I dream up how we can have more of an impact as our customers call in and also make their jobs easier. And I can talk about that at length. But the reality is we get about 20 million calls and chats with our customers every year. And that averages out to actually it's more than this, but 7 million hours of interactions with our customers. So we're spending a lot of time interacting with them. And previously we had no idea, why they were calling us, what their experiences had been, were they suffering at all, and certainly not doing anything to enhance their business. And so, essentially, this is kind of the trajectory we have been on, where they were quietly angry, not offering any value. And when we started the project, I did a 6-month pilot, and we had data scientists helping us to do an A/B study. So we have really good data on this. And in that first little study that we did with one product, QBO Advanced, we learned, I think I actually have it on the next slide. We learned that customers were 600% more likely to start using features that we recommended to them. So Serena called in, and the AI model is telling us she's high risk. We've got a number of data points that we can look at, and we can see that. We also knew that, she's paying for this feature, she's not using it, and she's a great match for it. Andy, if you're on the phone with her and you have a chance, bring it up. Just share that with her. And what we found was customers were 600% more likely to do that. Now, as I was working with our data scientists, I realized that we could add, I think it's like 6, so it's like more than a handful of what we call attached products. So I can could recommend a feature. You could also recommend a product that they could purchase or subscribe to. And what we found there, 6 times more likely to start using that feature as a consequence of just this very simple, gentle recommendation. And so it was really a 2-part strategy: retention and revenue growth. And what we found with the retention after 30 days at the end of this 6-month study, we went from, I think it was like 89% retention rate up 3.2 percentage points, so like 92. But that translated to about $10 million in that first phase. Fast forward about 18 months, and you get to today. And so this little project I started with 2 engineers and myself has grown, and we're on track to make, I guess like $220 million in doing this with what we're doing. And the last 6 months, the leadership has become really interested in this. And so essentially we've done a big rewrite of all the stuff that we originally built so that the technology that we're using is transferable into other CRMs. We can take it into the product, other things along the line. And it was about a month ago. Sasan is our CEO, and he thinks it's a $1.25 billion opportunity. So all of that because we figured out how to go read a database where the ML models for what the customer risk was and what the top recommended feature was, and then display that in Salesforce. So that's the journey that we've been on. There's more to it than that, but really fun, not always easy, but a really interesting, fun journey. And then what I thought I would do is actually show you visuals, because that's actually, I think, a really good way to sort of break things down. And so what you see on the screen here, the first thing that I did, so even before we get to the AI, Salesforce is designed to be a configurable low to no code solution. And it wasn't at Intuit. It was, and as a consequence, lots of code. It was very fragile anytime I had to make changes. So my boss and I set out on sort of rethinking around how we do this. And over on the left-hand side, which I actually cut out, I might have it on a later one, I added a panel in there to really focus on solving the minute call, make it go faster, make it easier. And that turned out to be a really good foundation for what I did over on this side, which followed. So you don't see it on this screen, but I had things in there that would, hey, this customer looks to be calling in about this issue, and here's 5 recommended articles that might help you solve the issue. And you can even email them to the customer. That saved like a minute off of what we call average handle time. And there were other things. And creating time for value-add recommendations is an essential component. You can't just build it and it'll solve. You have to, you have to create more time for the customer service person to be able to interact, build that relationship with Rob, and then maybe you get to bring up the value add. Now, this panel, which I call the relationship panel, is all about understanding the customer's journey. Where are they? Are they giving us like TNPS is the customer service score and PRS is the product score. So they're happy with TurboTax. The last experience wasn't that great with the customer service person. We have a very simple AI model. It's basically going out and checking to see in a database, what's the score for this particular customer? And there's a number of factors. If we were over on the QE QuickBooks side, are they logging in less frequently? Are they not using certain features? There's very basic things that we can look at to understand what's happening. And then our data scientists have tuned it such that we get a different reading on where they are. And then we built this. And so this is like the call to action. So let's say Rob has called in, and I can see that there's some, actually it's telling me there's some price sensitivity. So we might actually get his business. And so what we do is we alert the customer service person of this, that Rob's high risk, and you know what, you're pre-authorized, we might just give him a 20% discount because we think that that'll actually encourage him to get through this and we'll have his business. And there's other stuff in here too. But if I go to the next slide, this is what we're doing for, so the last one was the customer side, the TurboTax side. This is what we do for people using QuickBooks. Here you can see sort of this time saver. And again, I can't underscore the importance of understanding that full journey that the customer's on, because it makes all the difference. And there's certain things that the customer service folks just told me, oh, this is like the #1 pain point. So right here, before Mark calls in, before I can do anything to help him, I need to make sure he is who he says he is. Verified customer information is what we call that, or VCI. I had to go like 13 different places to find all this stuff. Like, well, let's just bring it in one spot. And that carved more time. It was like 40 seconds of time that we saved. And it created more space for the experts to have these conversations. We did this similar thing over here. So I can see, oh, Mark has 113 employees and he does X and he's based in Y. And then here, this is where we started to do that thing. So this is the T-Sheets headquarters for Intuit, now called QB Time. So I'm always using that as an example. I was also a customer. But here's our call to action. Hey, Mark's calling in and he's using, maybe he's using our payroll solution and he's got all these employees. Maybe I'm gonna bad lip here. If you're a contractor, right? Chances are he's going to need to collect that information from the field. And so time is a good match. So what we did is we just have a data lake. It could be in Salesforce. It could be out in a data lake. We go retrieve what the risk is. We go retrieve what the recommendation is. And then we started to add things to that sort of help that process. So I could make the pitch to Rob about QB Time and then have like a thumbs up, thumbs down, and he can tell me he can care less. Okay, great. I'm going to note that. And then when Jay talks with Mark next week, he knows, don't worry about that. This doesn't care, right? And this will eventually get updated back into the model so that we know. Really simple, right? There's nothing super technically complex about that. The risk score and the recommendation score, those are just basically propensity. We're doing a calculation on what's the likelihood that he falls here based on certain things. It's just a math formula. Pretty simple.
So that comes in, you have how many points of data do you bring into that?
Yeah, there's about 10 for this one.
Okay.
It does vary by product a little bit. Some of them can be 20. Same thing going on here. So again, we can look at what's going on with the customer in the product and then use those data points to guide what we do. So we know that Mark is not using QB Time. And so we can recommend that.
Just I know whenever Rob calls our office, it comes up as high maintenance. So
That's it.
yeah, we give him a 20% discount on it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, we'll have a snark meter. We'll just try here. Yeah. So, and then we added the ability to, Mark's in a hurry. Great. I can just send you an email, click the button. It sends him information. The customer service person doesn't have to do anything more. Create a lead. I'm a big nerd, so I added a confetti button. So if Jay actually helps Mark sign up, push this, confetti falls over the screen.
So do you have anything that says we couldn't solve their problem? So I'm a user. There's two things that really annoy me about QuickBooks, small business, self-employed. One, there's no pause button on the time.
Yeah.
And two, the log out drives me crazy. Logs out after an hour. I can't change it and it doesn't tell me it's logged out. So I do all this work and then I hit submit and then it goes back to the log out screen.
Yeah.
And I'm like ready to strangle somebody. So I called support.
Right.
And they're like, oh, sorry, that feature doesn't exist in your thing. And I'm just, so I left the call angry.
Sure.
Yeah.
So in here, do they leave a temperature of the person as they leave?
Yeah, I mean, we're still improving it, but I have, what's the score from that last interaction here? I can see, have you called in recently? So like a usually good temperature indicator is have they called in like within the last 48 hours, more than like 0, right? If they have, it's an indication something maybe went wrong. It's not always an exact answer to what you're just talking about. And then one of the things I added right in here, you do kind of have to go there, but it's just a click, is the case history. And then we do sort of the same thing where we're like, what was the temperature gauge on each one of those interactions? So at least it clues the expert in, but hold that thought, because I'm actually getting, when I get to the Gen AI, I'll share with you some of the things that we now are just on the precipice of being able to do. That's okay. So this is the rewrite. This is what we launched actually this month. So we have both ML-based recommendations and what I call rule-based recommendations. And the reason for this is the data scientists are like, this is what the data tells us to go to. But the business folks are like, that's great, but right now we're doing a campaign on payments. And so we want to lead with data, marketing, in product, etc. And so, great. We actually have done this in such a way that it can be configured. So it doesn't require code to do these things. And then we built a technology that can snap into, we have like multiple CRMs for like our bookkeepers and our tax professionals who are different than our product support folks. But the idea again is, we've got that call to action, what the benefits are, similar capabilities with interested, not interested. What we appear in here, all of this is customizable. So if Paula says, you know what, we've got a different way that we want to like present that recommendation, just tell us and we can update it. We can actually even give Paula the ability to update that information. And trying to think of, so what I'm sharing here is what you saw previously is the way it works today. This is from the that global engineering days thing with Gen AI that we did last week. It's all about personalization. So step one is let's go read 6,000 different data points, which is actually what we're doing, to tailor the message so that if Mark calls in, I don't actually have it specifically for the use case you specified, but in this case, what we're doing is we're tailoring the message around, we know these things about him regarding the products that he has and that he's interested in. We know that, in this case, he's an auto dealer. We can tailor that message that we present. And then the thing that we have the potential that I plan to do with this as well is off on the side. And you know what? This last, see you, Andy. This last interaction was really bad. Here's what it was about. So that if he calls in, I can say, Mark, did we get that issue solved for you, or is there something I can do to better address it? And so the idea is to engage with that. And then with Gen AI, I don't know if I have a screenshot of it here. I don't, well, from a system standpoint, I'm the care person, and I have that little thing where I can type in and ask questions. All of that is collectible. And so that information we can read real time. And so if we're finding out that Mark is pretty upset, we didn't solve his issue, today that sort of goes off into this big, vast repository of data and nobody can act on it. But now we've got AI that's regularly processing that. And so we can easily layer in a rule that says, you know what, if the intents, so when you do speech to text, you basically flag certain words as an intent to try and understand what's the theme of that conversation. And so it would flag the conversation with Mark. It would say, he seems like he was upset about these things. And then we can sort of score like just how upset was he. And if it's high, or if it gets, triggers a certain thing, we can do actions based on that. We actually have somebody call Mark. We could reach out via the product. We could try and understand what that issue is and get it over to, the dev team or something, or, there's any number of things that we now have the potential to do, because what we're doing is we've gone from a place where we're just didn't have any visibility to having things in a database that we can retrieve and present at the start of the call, to things now where we're reading multiple sources and we're creating data as we go. And then as that data is created, we can act on it. So whereas today, it's a large organization, and that ability to rapidly respond to Mark's concern isn't as easy as I would like it to be. But with this technology now, we can set up things that look at and trigger us to help us be a better customer support organization, so that even if we don't solve his need on that first incident, we can do things proactively or reactively to help them out.
Jet, so tying this conversation together as a customer, a TurboTax customer.
Yeah.
I'm a scrappy entrepreneur and I like to keep my accounting skills sharp. You talk about blood boiling. I was transferred to a Canadian website for 45 minutes. I spoke to the customer service rep. I went to the wrong call center. It took her 45 minutes to figure out that, you know what? She's in California. She's not in Canada. So there's an opportunity. You talk about customer retention.
Yeah.
Before you gain the right to sell additional services, you have to fix that customer's problem, because that customer is so, especially during tax time, when the pressure is up. So that's number one, something to think about. You got to understand the customer's pain, number one, solve it as quickly as possible so that they're happy. And that gives you the right to go to that next step. Oh, by the way, we've taken a look at your background, your company history. Here's some products that might be relevant. So that's something to think about. Number two, you have a huge database of structured data in the community forums. Using AI and pattern recognition, are you able to go through that community to see sort of what are the big pain points that customers seem to be having? And then that would be huge, because the first step that I turn to before I pick up the phone is I go to that community to see if somebody else has that similar problem. So there's a fantastic opportunity to use AI. To see what are the big, and then have an expert, right? An internal expert answer the question, and then you can solve a lot of that, take away a lot of that frustration from customers.
Oh, absolutely, man. And that's what's so exciting about this is that ability for the AI to help us. People like worry about AI, and maybe that's true or not, but I view it as an opportunity to help both the individual customer service person create that's a tough job, right? Especially for TurboTax, because it's not like they're there all through the year. When we have partners that we use to help us staff up. And so someone may be coming in with less skill than like one of our badged employees. So the more that I can do to help them create a successful experience for the customer calling in, I'm also creating a successful experience for them. And to me, that's really important. But we also the Gen AI piece, as you noted, gives us that ability to look at things at more of a macro level.
Exactly.
And because it's able to sort of analyze the data at this huge volumes, I mean, that's what it does. We can put in things to say, go look for this and go look for that. And, and then all of a sudden the awareness and the ability to make accountable and then actionable things that have been a challenge really for all organizations, but I'll say for us too, it's diminished. And that's the thing that I think is so exciting, is that now we're at the precipice of being really able to deliver experiences for our customers where truly, the vision of what I want to get to is I want all of our customers to think about our experts as trusted advisors, right? Because you know what, we're already proactively solving your issues while you're in the product. Let's just nip it in the bud. That's the vision. And then by the time that you're calling in with stuff, we're helping out, or we've already got it solved. And it's like, you know what, Serena, here's some other stuff that might be of value. You want to, if you've got time, you want to chat about it. Low pressure. It's not like we're selling things. It's more about building that relationship. Because again, if you're a lifetime customer, that's the smartest thing for us to do.
Yeah, you're adding value to my business and you're adding value to my life by taking the stress off.
Right. And I know this last slide really speaks to what you do, right? Which is thinking about how do we transform the way that we think about the work that we do with the technologies that are now presenting themselves, right? I have the information to be able to enable our customer support organization to be more than just like, let's figure out how we can do this for the cheapest possible cost, right? Given that we've got those 7 million hours equate to about 400 million minutes of time with our customers, how can we trim that down, as well as just, think about how to help them be more successful, because as those businesses grow, we want to continue to offer them more services. And I think that's actually the last line.
And how do you communicate that digital transformation strategy, that digital transformation journey to your customers and your partners as well?
Yeah.
That they know, so this is where we are, this is where we want to go, and this is what we're going, this is the way that we're thinking about how do we add more value to your life and to your business.
Yeah.
Right? That's super important. It starts with the mindset.
Yeah.
I have one more comment, is time is money to all of us.
Yeah.
Every minute counts. When I sit on a call and wait for somebody to answer the call for 15 or 20 or 30 minutes, I'm pissed.
Sure.
Because I know every company I just waited, they just made $1 billion, but they won't hire enough people to answer my phone call. So I think that's an important element of your whole data and AI is if you make somebody wait 30 minutes, all the data in the world is not going to make me happy. I'm going to be mad.
Yeah.
So I think it's an important element to this, that it's only one piece of the pie.
Yeah.
You can't have the finance department cut all your reps, so people are waiting 30 minutes and you got all this great data.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to make a lot more money with this AI stuff if you answer within 2 minutes.
Right. Well, it gets back to the cost center mindset versus the value add center mindset, right? And that's not an easy thing to change.
But my point is, you're going to be a lot more successful selling things if I didn't wait just 15 minutes.
Sure. Under that, it's not quite under the dashboard, right? Or when they pick up the phone with
How long the person's been waiting.
We absolutely know. And part of the journey, because selling is only it's only a piece of it. Like the more important thing is if they're upset, how can we help create more value for them?
Right, but my point is, if they're mad to start the call,
well,
because they waited 15 minutes,
yeah, I mean,
then that it's a challenge. Your whole conversation is going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
totally, totally agree. And obviously that's a different, all I'm trying to do today, I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying. All I'm trying to do today is, assuming you've got that piece worked out, here's how you focus on this. If you want to talk about that, which would be fun, one of the things I did 3 years ago is there was this, we had this really cool guy named Mario Joy who led the care organization for the Boise site. This is when we were all pretty much just focused around QB time. And he was always doing this. He laid down this audacious goal to say, we're not going to hire any more customer service folks. We have to figure out how to improve the productivity of all of our experts. And T-Sheets is known for the quality of its customer service. And part of the rationale for this was we only had the other building. We were running out of space. We're not gonna be able to build another building. So we have to figure out how to do this. So we're like, damn it, Mario, why do you do this stuff to us? So, but we had an awesome team where we collaborated. So we had this goal of reducing the handle time of calls by 26%. So that we could basically ensure that we had this awesome level of customer service. And it was one of those scenarios where we had like 25 big things that we were working on, and we were able to take them off through the year. And actually, the results were so good when we hit peak season. And anybody who's closed their financials knows that that's the crazy time of the year, not only for your business, but for all the accounting software organizations. Things were so good that we were able to start loaning out our experts to help the payroll team, which was a different group, to take their calls because we were so on top of it. So it's doable, but you're right. There's like lots of pieces to make things successful.
And I think to Mark's point, measuring customer sentiment. So you're able to get that the number of minutes on a call down, but is that customer truly satisfied at the end? It's like the federal government.
Yeah.
They will get off the phone. So you call up the federal help desk to let you know.
Yeah.
And they're measuring, that's one of their, that's one of the data points that they're looking at, but they don't solve the problem. Yeah. So the customer, the taxpayer, is not happy.
We have a program that we're starting internally, and I think the public thing will be Apollo. I'm not leading it, but the idea is, can we use Gen A to do the things that you're talking about, which is like, can we solve, like you have this little assistant in the product that's helping you solve these things in a more intelligent way. So you've got customer service right there, except it's a bot and it's smart and you can talk with it. And then the thinking is we can take Apollo and also build it in on the side of what I've got going, so that if I am that TurboTax expert, and maybe you hit me up with a question that I'm just not sure of, it's looking, but we have the technology in place to say, hold the phone, you're just about to send Serena to Canada. Like, no, she wants to go here, right? And we can do speech to text, we can do it real time, we've got AI, we can look at you and understand your profile, and we can actually feed the number to the expert if you actually want to call them, or we can figure out just how to get you them.
Yeah,
So,
you had all the data, so I should not have been sent over to Canada. You had all the data, you knew where the LLC was headquartered, so that should not have happened. So that was 45 minutes out of my.
But you're
How do
saying that this is being smarter, helping it be more effective with the customer.
Yeah.
Good.
yeah, the technology, we don't have it in place today, obviously,
Yeah,
but the technology there is no longer smoke and mirrors. It's a question of like, okay, we gotta snap it together.
And bring it more effective for the customer, for
Right.
you.
Right. And if Idaho can lead on that front,
Good job.
that'd be awesome.
we'll continue to be the versioning of that we are today.
That's what I'm
Are
hoping.
you using any of the AI engines out there like ChatGPT and others to help your customer support be a little smarter?
Yeah, great question. We're not using chat GPT. There's some just concerns around that one internally. I'm not the data scientist on that side. I know that I can find it for you if you want. There are some that are considered more appropriate for business and safer. And so we're leveraging those technologies, as well as, we have this huge, because we're lucky, we have our own data science team and they're building things, but we are leveraging some of those well-established ones.
But you are trying to pull in AI from other companies, and
Oh, I see what you mean.
or you just using different tools that you can subscribe to, and then it.
Hey, we're not. So I'm on the care side. Everything that we need is available within our own data sources. Can't speak for our sales team. I mean, they might be using something like Dun & Bradstreet or sources like that as well. Certainly you could, but I don't believe we are. Simply because there's just weird stuff that gets into that as well. And we're in Europe, we're in another country, so we want to have like one standard that we follow for everybody. If it makes sense. Anything else? That's the presentation.
Good, it's impressive. I love just the model of from cost to profit center. And that's one of the things that we try to do with security is we want to enable the business to grow, not be a cost center.
And it's interesting in the conversation that people really worry, what does that mean to our relationship? And what I'm really happy about with Intuit is just our leadership for this project it's more about lifetime value. That's the thing that we really want. Like if we make money selling stuff, that's great. But lifetime value is the thing that's so much more important. One, financially, but two, it just fits our values and it's more fun anyway. So and we think we'll be more successful. Rob, anything you want to speak to or add as a sort of our spark leader?
This is awesome. As what we're up to at Intime Tech is we're building our own product. And so, like we have access to the data. We know how often they're using the software or not. And so we can start to, monitor like, hey, are you using it? Are you adopting it? Because as you go to buy our software, that you spin it up, and then, we can tell if they've adopted it and what features they're using. And so